What's up, peeps? Welcome to another edition of Hip Hop Head. My name is Julian Williams. I got a video for you guys. Yelawolf Radioactive review. Pretty much going into this album, to be honest, I was pretty much just expecting. I wasn't expecting much out of this album. I thought that Yelawolf was going to be watered down. Being now that he's on a mainstream label, I thought he'd be watered down and his music would be tamed down. But it was a total opposite of what I thought it would be. Yelawolf brought it with this album. Production was great. Production was almost perfect. His song choice was was perfect. This was a showcase of Yelawolf on Shady Records. This was his showing. This was impressive. This was an impressive album. He didn't oversaturate with Shady Record, with Shady Record mates. This album was pretty much all of him, and the features on the album were smart features. You had Mystical, you had Gangsta Boo, you had Eminem, of course, you had Killer Mike. He had really good features on this album, not too many features. So going into the album, the Radioactive intro, full of energy. The first few tracks, he's just full of energy. Like until Throw It Up with Eminem and Gangsta Boo, all these songs are just full of energy, just high energy tracks, up tempo. He's changing up his lyrical cadence. His delivery is changing like throughout the whole entire album. His delivery is just continuously changing, and and I have to say Eminem killed it on Throw It Up, killed it at the very end. Was the last person on that song. And he also had, Kid Rock on the album too, on Let's Roll. That was an alright track. And also brought back Lil Jon, and we all know how annoying Lil Jon is. But those first few tracks on the album kind of brought us back to a time where Southern hip hop was just full of, high bass, loud volume, and just high energy tracks. It brought us back to that time with how he was rapping and how those tracks were produced and how they were made. And I think Will Power did a great job of producing, these tracks on this album. So after the track with Eminem, he toned it down a little bit. He went to Good Girl. Good Girl, another song with a lot of substance to it, and Made in the USA, another different track, where he's talking about different issues, which is a more conscious track. So he goes on there, and then he has a feature with Fifi Dobson, which was Animal. Another great feature on the album, another great song, and it was cool that he brought out Fifi Dobson, because I think that Fifi Dobson is a very talented artist that has not really crossed over, to the United States mainstream as of yet. She's had a couple songs in the United States that were kind of popular, but now she's not too relevant to the United States audience anymore. And it was nice for Yelawolf to bring her on this song, because she sounded perfect on the song Animal. So you had song, and then you had a couple songs that were good, and you could tell they had substance to it, like Radio and Everything I Love the Most, which sound like pop tracks, songs that you could play on the radio. But when you hear Radio, he's going into the politics of the music industry. Why it's okay to make, for some of the classic artists like the Eric Claptons and Americas, and all these guys who were making songs back in the 70s about drugs, like Horse with No Name and things of that nature, and Gaga La Vida by Iron Butterfly. While all these guys are making songs about drugs that were popular and shit like that, why can't he talk about this kind of stuff, on the radio? So now, artists are going to the internet because they're not censored anymore. They're not censored, and they can say whatever they want now. You don't get all kinds of edited tracks, but it's a song that sounds like it could be played mainstream on the radio. So other than that, and Everything I Love the Most was probably my favorite one on this album. Was another good song. Implemented a interpolated UGK, Pimp C's verse in Big Pimpin' at the beginning of the second verse of Everything I Love the Most. And he ended ended the album very well with the last song, which was a song to his father. Apparently, he grew up without a father, and it was pretty much a song to his father. And great song, great writing. So overall, with the great writing, the great production, great song listing, it's not quite a classic. It's not quite a classic due to the fact that at times it doesn't sound like a rap album. It sounds like a rock album from time to time just because of the production level and the sound of the record. So it's going to sound like a rock album. And would it sound like a rock album? Does it mean that hip hop cannot sound like rock? Kanye West proved it with his album last year. That hip hop doesn't have to be condensed down to just numerous beats, no instrumentation, a myriad of special guest features, this, that, and the third. So of course it does sound like a rock album from time to time, but still, when it sounds like a rock album, it's still a hip hop album, and it's not. And to me, hip hop was all about being honest, and he's honest. He's rapping. He's, there's points where he's yelling. He's venting out his frustration, and that's what we call artistry. This album, Yelawolf, proved that he's an artist. He's not just a rapper. He's an artist, and this is a 5-mic album. I'm giving this one 5 mics, which is rare. I'm giving it 5 mics due to the fact that he's using like different beats, different production, and didn't condense himself down to mainstream rappers and oversaturate his album with just mainstream rappers. He went independent with this album pretty much. It's a mainstream release that was with that was made like an independent album. Pretty much, gotta love the features on this album with Gangsta Boo and Mystical, and I don't think Mystical really fit on that Getaway track. But even though there are flaws, there are some obvious flaws to the record, to the album. But I think that Yelawolf on his own, I can't really rate an album just because of other people on the album. But I think Yelawolf held his own on this album and did enough to score 5 mics for me. So anyway, peeps, 5 mics. Second 5 mic after the Kanye West album from last year. So anyway, peeps, thanks for watching Hip Hop Head. I'm Julian Williams, and I'm out of here. Peace.